Should have seen that away that I quested him, man. I weren't shocked that all of his brethren left him.
That right there is a 19-year-old kid bragging about stabbing a man to death on Snapchat, less than an hour after he did it. And that very video is exactly what sent him to prison for the next 2 decades. Before we get into that video and everything that came with it, you need to understand how we even arrived at a moment like that, because this whole story did not start on the day somebody died. It started years earlier in a city called Coventry in the middle of England, where 2 housing estates had been at war with each other for so long that the people living there had almost forgotten what started it in the first place. Coventry is a regular mid-sized English city, and inside it, these 2 estates were divided by a single street called Torrington Avenue. The Canley estate sat on one side of that road, and Tile Hill sat on the other side. We are not talking about different cities or even different parts of town really, just 2 neighborhoods with an invisible line running between them and a group of young men on each side who took that line very seriously. On the Canley side of that divide was Enroy Jr. Ruddock, 18 years old at the time all of this went down, living on Melbourne Road in Coventry. He had no known criminal history before this, no music career or public profile of any kind. He was just a young man who was deeply tied to a crew from Canley and had been moving in that world long enough to feel personally invested in the beef with Tile Hill. Some headlines after the case called him a rapper because of a video he posted, but there is no evidence anywhere of him ever releasing music, being signed, or having any kind of career in that space before this happened. The only reason that label got attached to him was because of what he did with his phone after the killing. On the Tile Hill side was Emmanuel Lukenga, 21 years old, known by everybody around him as Manny. Manny's story is one that hits different when you know the full context, because this man's family had already survived things that most people will never experience. His family came from the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country that had been through devastating war for years, and when Manny was about 10 years old, his mother packed up everything and brought the family to England. She later stood in court and said the reason she made that move was to protect her family. They landed in Coventry, Manny learned English, grew up in the area, and built a life there. By 2019, he was a father to a 3-year-old daughter named Renee and had another child on the way. He had started studying because he wanted to become a paramedic, someone whose whole job is to save lives. He also trained at a local boxing gym called Toe to Toe Boxing Academy, where people described him as talented and genuinely a good person to be around. His sister said he was her best friend. Now, to be fair to the full picture, Manny was known to have been involved in the territorial tensions between Tile Hill and Canley. He was not completely removed from that world. But what matters when we look at what actually happened on the 12th of June 2019 is this. Manny was not the one who spent the morning before his death organizing a convoy, stealing vehicles, collecting weapons, and going out to hunt somebody. That planning, that preparation, all of that was on Ruddock's side. The day before the murder, on the 11th of June, a powerful Triumph superbike was stolen from a garage in the Coventry area. 2 of Ruddock's associates, Kyle Kinchin and Riley Madden, changed the identifying features on that bike so it would be harder for police to trace. That bike was going to be used the very next day as part of what the prosecution would later describe as a coordinated hunt. On the morning of the 12th, 4 young men came together at the home of Matthew Brankin on Thimbler Road in Canley. Ruddock was 18, Brankin was 19, Kinchin was 18, and Bradley Richardson was the oldest at 23. At Branken's house, they also got a second vehicle, a blue Citroën Berlingo van, which they got from a man who had come to do some work at the property that morning. They took it without that man's permission and used it for everything that followed. They armed themselves with a large Rambo-style knife, a large axe, and possibly a half-brick, then stopped at a petrol station and filled up a green jerry can before setting out. Kinchin rode the stolen motorcycle with Ruddock behind him, and Branken drove the van with Richardson in the passenger seat. They moved through the streets together, two vehicles running in formation, looking for Manny and anyone connected to him. The reason for all of this was that Manny and his friends had been seen in Canley. Prosecutor James Curtis QC told the jury that the group had set out to target Lukenga and his friends for intimidation and extreme violence, not because of some serious attack or retaliation for anything specific that had happened, just because Manny had been spotted on the wrong side of Torrington Avenue, and these four men decided that was worth going to war over. The convoy made its first move by going after Manny's car. They drove into Tile Hill and found the red Vauxhall Astra that Manny had been seen driving earlier, parked on a street called Milrose Way. They circled the area multiple times before Ruddock got off the back of the motorcycle, walked over with the jerry can, and personally set Manny's car on fire. The intention was to destroy the car so Manny's crew could not drive around in it, but they did not stop there. After the arson, the convoy kept moving through Tile Hill, still actively patrolling the streets looking for Manny or anyone from his side, and before long, they spotted some of his friends. The moment those friends saw the convoy coming, they ran straight into a convenience store on Frisbee Road to get off the street. They clearly understood the danger they were in. The CCTV cameras inside that shop captured everything, and that footage was later shown to the jury at trial. It showed Broadley Richardson standing outside holding a large axe in plain view, and Ruddock with one hand behind his back, which the prosecution argued was where he was holding the Rambo knife. The group waited. When Manny's friends eventually came back out, the chase started again, and this time it escalated fast. The convoy caught up with Manny and his full group as they tried to escape through a narrow walkway between Tile Hill Lane and Gravel Hill. Branken drove the van directly into that alleyway, pushing it so hard the vehicle picked up damage before it stopped. At that point, Ruddock and Richardson got off on foot and continued the chase themselves, still armed, still running these people down. Manny's group fled into the back gardens of houses on Franklin Grove. Residents on that street, some of them with young children at home, looked out to see armed men chasing people through their gardens. Richardson used the axe to smash through a garden gate so they could keep going. One by one, Manny's friends found ways to get over fences and escape, but Manny was last and he did not make it over in time. Manny was trying to climb a high fence between two gardens when Ruddock caught him and stabbed him once with the large knife, hitting him in the lower body near the perineum, which is the area between the legs. The blade cut through a major artery in that region. Manny fell into the rear garden and collapsed. Paramedics arrived, but there was nothing they could do. He was pronounced dead at the scene from massive internal bleeding.
After Manny died, the group went back to Branken's house and then took everything to a nearby wooded area where they burned the stolen motorcycle, the jerry can, the clothes they had been wearing, and their shoes. The Rambo knife was thrown into a brook. They thought they had cleaned everything up.
But within about an hour of Manny dying in that garden, Ruddock took out his phone, put a yellow emoji filter over his face on Snapchat, and posted a video of himself bragging about what he had just done to anyone who followed his account. Queft means stabbed or killed in UK street slang. Brethren means his boys, his crew. He was mocking the fact that Manny's friends had run and left him there alone. He captioned the video, "Don't doubt worth," and posted it publicly.
In that way that I quit him, man, I weren't shocked that all of his brethren left him that.
CCTV footage from outside Branken's home captured Ruddock walking across a grassed area with his phone held up in a selfie position at the exact moment the Snapchat was being filmed, which later became part of the evidence trail at trial. The Snapchat was the mistake that cracked the whole case open before it even really began. A young woman who followed Ruddock's account recognized his voice in the video immediately. She forwarded it to someone else who passed it directly to the police within hours of the murder, well before any arrests had been made. From that point forward, investigators were already ahead. But the Snapchat was only one piece of what police had to work with, because the West Midlands Police Homicide Unit had already been paying close attention to the tensions between Canley and Till Hill before the murder even happened. Because Ruddock hid his face behind an emoji in the Snapchat, police needed to confirm it was actually him in the video. They did that by pulling CCTV footage from earlier that same day where he appeared on camera without anything covering his face before the murder took place, which locked in his identity without them even needing to rely on voice recognition alone. From there, investigators pieced together the rest through physical and digital evidence. The motorcycle helmet Ruddock had worn during the convoy was traced back to Kyle Kinchin, which connected the two of them and helped place both men in the sequence of events. CCTV footage from across the route the convoy had taken showed the two vehicles moving in formation, captured the axe in Richardson's hands outside the Frisbee Road shop, and tracked the group's movements through the whole day. Dashcam footage from passing vehicles added to that, along with phone data showing communication between all four defendants throughout. Then there was the knife that the group had thrown into a brook, apparently thinking it would never be found. Forensic examination of the recovered knife confirmed it matched the damage found on Emmanuel Lukenga's clothing. Police also recovered the burned remains of the motorcycle, the jerry can, and the clothing from the woodland where the group had tried to destroy the evidence. And then there was Matthew Branken, who was caught on CCTV outside his own home after the murder, miming the entire sequence of events, acting out the driving, the axing of the gate, and the stabbing motion, apparently more than once on camera. There is genuinely no good explanation for that one. All four men were arrested and charged with murder. All four pleaded not guilty, though they had already admitted to the arson at an earlier point in the legal process. The murder trial ran for 6 weeks at Warwick Crown Court, with the prosecution presenting a compiled video timeline that combined the CCTV, dashcam footage, phone data, and the snapshot recording in chronological order so the jury could follow every move the group made from the morning meeting at Branken's house all the way through to Ruddock bragging on the grass outside. Ruddock took the stand during his trial and told a different version of events. He claimed that Richardson had passed him the knife only after the motorcycle stopped, saying it was for his own protection and to intimidate the other group into backing off, rather than for anything more serious. He said that when he caught up with Manny, he saw him reach toward his waistband and spotted something black that could have been a gun or a knife, which made him fear for his life. He told the court, "I ran at him and shoulder charged him. I thought he was going to do something with a weapon. I stabbed him in the lower region, in the bum." He said he never meant to kill or seriously hurt Manny and that the whole thing came from fear. The jury heard all of that and still convicted him, and when you look at the full picture of that day, it is not hard to see why. Richardson and Brankin were also convicted of murder under joint enterprise, which is a legal principle that holds everyone equally responsible when a group sets out together with shared intent to cause serious harm, even if only one person physically delivered the fatal blow. Kenshin was acquitted of murder but convicted of arson. Sentencing happened the very next day. Judge Andrew Lockhart, CQ, described the whole thing as a chilling plan that came out of a long-running turf war, and he addressed Ruddock directly. "You were the man taking a leading role. You called for the knife and went into the garden to administer the lethal blow. He was looking to run away and going over a fence when you stopped him. It was a stab with a huge knife to a vulnerable part of his body. He was simply knifed to death." The judge also pointed out that earlier in the day, Ruddock had been seen on CCTV drawing his finger across his throat when the group first spotted Manny's associates, which he said showed that murder was in their heads long before they ever got to Franklin Grove. All four men received life imprisonment with a minimum of 21 years before they can even apply for parole. Richardson got life with a minimum of 22 years. Brankin got life with a minimum of 19 years. Kenshin got 27 months for the arson. Detective Chief Inspector Scott Griffiths of the West Midlands Police Homicide Unit summarized the whole thing after sentencing by saying the violence had flared up seemingly out of trivial disputes. Trivial disputes. That is the phrase that stays with you. Manny's mother brought her family to England from a war zone specifically to protect them. And Ruddock, who took Manny's life in a stranger's back garden over a postcode line and then filmed himself celebrating it on Snapchat with a cartoon emoji on his face, will be in his 40s before he even gets to sit in front of a parole board. All of that from a beef over which side of a road you were standing on. What do you think about this senseless killing? Let me know in the comment section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.